Time.
All right. Well, then let's convene our regular session meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Development Review Commission for City of Tempe for February 23rd, 2021. The Development Review Commission is created to hold public meetings and hearings to provide analysis and recommendations to the City Council regarding general land use policies and applications where the Commission has recommendatory power, and to render final decisions on specified applications where the Commission has final decision-making power, including but not limited to all aspects of a proposed and future development. The Development Review Commission recognizes that the creation of a desirable environment throughout the city for residents, business, and industry is a prime requisite for the interdependence of land values, aesthetics, and good site planning by promoting harmonious, safe, attractive, and compatible development that is therefore considered to be in the best interest of public health, safety, and general welfare. Any person aggrieved by a final decision of the Development Review Commission may file an appeal to the City Council within 14 calendar days after the Development Review Commission has rendered its final decision. Okay, so having read our preamble, folks, welcome. We're glad that you're all with us and have an opportunity to talk about these cases, and you can make your points of view now. I'd like to introduce those that we have with us by way of commission. Got a lot of things on my screen here at once. We have with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Andrew Johnson, Commissioner Don Castano, Vice Chair Mike DiDomenico, Commissioner Phil Amorosi, Commissioner Scott Sumners, Commissioner Stephen Bauer, and I am Chairman David Lyon. We also have with us by way of city staff, Ms. Shelley Seiler, Mr. Ryan Levesque, Suparna Dasgupta, Steve Abramson, Lee Jimenez, Karen Stovall, and Joanna Berry. Also, we have the assistance of Mr. Greg Wolf tonight, and we thank him for his expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, on our agenda tonight, we have 3 cases, one of which we have elected to place on the consent agenda. That is the Transitions Project at 1500 South Priest Drive. This means that we intend to approve the application without further discussion, unless we have somebody with us from the public who wishes to make comment on the case or have the case heard for some other reason. If you wish to make comment on any case tonight, you can avail yourself of this opportunity by going to the cityoftempe.org website, and I'm told there's a button there that you press in order to enter the queue, and you can make comments on cases there. Ms. Dasgupta, do we have anyone who wishes to have the Transitions Project heard?
Chairman, for that particular one, we do not.
Okay. All right. So we'll leave that on the consent agenda unless you yell at me in the next couple of minutes.
Chair Lyon, I just had somebody contact that they want to hear this, I believe, but I don't see a comment card stating they wanted to speak on it.
This is for the, Joanna, this is for the transitions?
And Duhan just posed, "We do!" exclamation. She just put a comment right now saying "we do." I'm not sure if that's this one or not. Let me ask. Would you like me to ask her real quick?
Which one? Say that again.
And Duhan.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead and ask them. I'll come back to you in a moment. We'll do our consideration of meeting minutes while you work on that. How about? So folks, if you do wish to hear transitions, we have a member of staff reaching out. Please connect with them and say, yes, I'd like to have the transition case heard. In the meantime, while you all work that out, we will have a consideration of meeting minutes from our January 26th meeting. We have reviewed those minutes from study session and regular session. We have not found any edits to be made. Get the appropriate document on my screen here. With that all set to go, can I hear a motion regarding the approval of said meeting minutes?
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Casano. I would make a motion for approval of the study session minutes from January 26, 2021, and the regular meeting minutes of January 1st, January 26, 2021. Motion for their approval.
All right. Was that second from Mike?
Second from Mike.
All right. Motion to approve from Commissioner Casano and seconded by Vice Chair Mike DiDomenico. Commissioner Bauer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Casano?
Aye.
And recording these as we go. Vice Chair DiDomenico?
Aye.
I abstain because I was not present at that meeting. Commissioner Sunders, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Amorosi?
Aye.
And Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-0 with Chairman Lyon in abstention. All right, so let's come back to our consent agenda then. Do we have Ms. Berry or Ms. Pasgupta? Do we have any more information on if this is to be heard? Or,
Yes, Chairman, Chairman, we do not, we just confirmed the one speaker we were confused is for St. Dominic. So transitions, we do not have anybody to speak.
All right. So with that, then let's move ahead with our consent agenda consisting of transitions. Can I hear a motion regarding its approval, please?
So moved. Domenico.
Okay, motion to approve from Vice Chair DiDomenico. Can I hear a second, please?
Second.
I believe that was Commissioner Sumners.
Johnson.
Okay. Commissioner Bauer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Casano.
Aye.
Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Commissioner Sumners.
Aye.
Commissioner Amorosi.
Aye.
And Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 7-0. So having taken care of that, let's move on to St. Dominic. And I believe we're looking for Ms. Manjula Vaz. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that is correct.
Okay.
Greg, do we have a different presentation from the applicant on this? Greg?
Ms. Vaz,
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry, yeah, I was gonna, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for your record, my name is Manjula Vaz, law firm of Gambridge and Burnham, 2 North Central, Phoenix 85004. I am here today on behalf of St. Dominic's Academy. We are doing this in 2 steps, and I'll talk about it in a second. Today, we're asking for the use permit to allow a private school on the 3.7 acres that is currently zoned agricultural. It's located at the northeast corner of Priest and Knox, and shown in that red square. Typically, as you know, you would see the use permit along with the design, but because this is a small private school and we wanted to make sure that they would be able to proceed, what we've done with working with the staff is to kind of work through the use permit today. And if this is approved, then we will be coming back to the DRC in May with the site plan. So we are still working with the staff on some site plan issues. And I know there may be some comments about the site plan, so I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the process and why we've decided to do that. And some of it is, as you know, it's expensive to produce all the plans. We wanted to make sure that we were able to proceed forward, and then we'll kind of work through the site plan where we do have some site plan drawings to show you. Greg, next slide. So just briefly, St. Dominic's Academy is a private nonprofit school for children with autism and related disorders ranging in age from 18 months to 22 years. Their founder, Corinna Noldo, who is here with me today, if you'd like to hear from her, is a Tempe resident. And she has a bachelor's and master's degrees in special ed from NAU, which has been working with children with autism since 2001. And St. Dominic's opened in 2009 to provide a program that would meet the complex needs of students with autism. They originally started here in Tempe, and then they moved to their current Chandler site, which is here. They currently operate out of a 13,000 square foot single story office building in Chandler. And while this site actually is similar to the Knox and Priest site in that it is surrounded by residential, this site, the existing site, which they're renting, has minimal outdoor opportunities for learning and recreation. So Corinna is a Tempe resident, and they wanted to find a larger space in Tempe that allows them to build a permanent campus kind of with more outdoor setting for the students that allow indoor and outdoor learning. So that is why we picked this site in Tempe. It has adequate access on Priest. I understand there's traffic on Priest and Knox. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but this does allow this has a nice pastoral setting, and it allows ample opportunity for playground space, which I will show you. Next slide, please. This, just to give you a site plan that we've been talking to the city about, is a one-story school building. It's about 21 feet, which is about the height of a single-story house, maximum of 27 feet in articulation, 35,000 square foot building. The building is oriented towards Priest, which will be the main access point to campus, but maybe also help buffer some road noise potentially. And the campus provides opportunities for indoor and outdoor learning, gardens, playgrounds, and it has been designed to kind of respect the surrounding properties and try to provide buffers and setbacks and land use buffers. So this is a site plan that eventually will be coming to you for approval, just to show you kind of where we're going with the site plan. Next slide, please, Greg. And then this, very briefly, is the building design that we're still working with the staff on, but you can kind of see kind of a low slung single story building. Next slide. Again, landscape plan, we will be preserving, I know some people have reached out to us, we will be preserving the existing mature trees along Knox. In addition, we intend to enhance the landscaping both along Knox and Priest. So you can see with this landscape plan what we're trying to do in terms of adding a lot of trees and vegetation to the area to kind of keep it kind of an agricultural pastoral setting. Next slide, please. So the school currently in Chandler has 33 students. This proposed campus will allow the school to grow to 117 students and 60 staff members. That'll take several years. They generally, and I can have Corinna talk a little bit about it if we need to, but it's generally you have kind of a 2-to-1 student ratio. And given the children that are here, you don't have, it's not a Kyrene school where you have people come, just kids are dropped off and they go to the classroom by themselves. The children here are always accompanied by an adult. The parents come, they park in the parking lot, they take their children to the classroom. In the classroom, they're given to one of the members of the staff, whether they're teacher or sports staff. So the children are always with an adult. You don't have children that are kind of running around. I know that's been a concern for some of the neighbors. School will operate between normal school hours, between 8:30 and 3:30. All the campus operations and parking will be fully contained, and the school will not host any after-school events, with the exception of occasional open house or parent night. Next slide, please. So, we feel this is a pretty low, I understand the traffic issues, but we do feel the school with the minimal amount of students is a pretty low traffic impact. We have, Jamie's here to talk about it. But you need to talk about traffic. We have a nominal 1.4% increase in Priest, and that study has been adjusted to reflect the decrease in traffic volume. We have trip generation that accounted for, county's growth rate. The campus provides 110 on-site parking spaces. In addition, and as part of the stipulations, which you'll see, they've agreed to install no parking signs on the north and south side of Knox to discourage off-site parking. In addition, school also enforce the parking. And we've talked to the City Transportation Division. They do not have any concerns regarding the traffic generation for the proposed school. Next slide, please, Greg. So just in terms of the use permit approval criteria, we do not believe the proposal will cause significant increase in vehicular pedestrian traffic. As we talked about, we see minimal increase on Priest, 1.4%. The proposed on-site parking exceeds the parking requirement of the zoning code. No parking signs will be installed along Knox. Parking and daily school operations will be fully contained on the site. And just to give you a sense, the general plan in the area calls for residential and medium density residential on the site, which is up to 15 dwelling units an acre, which is generally probably some sort of kind of low density multifamily, which could potentially be a greater increase in traffic and probably a higher density use than what we're proposing. Second, the proposed use will not cause a nuisance at a level exceeding ambient conditions. Activities will be in designated outdoor areas only, and they will occur at daytime. The proposed campus provides opportunities for controlled indoor and outdoor learning. And the project design provides significant building setbacks or land use buffers, including, for example, 8-foot block walls, preservation of existing mature trees along Knox, to provide a visual noise buffer from the adjoining residential properties. Next slide, Greg. Again, the property values will not contribute to the deterioration of the neighborhood or downgrade the property values. We believe the proposed redevelopment will assist the neighborhood by providing additional right-of-way, half-street improvements, and a new bus shelter that will contribute to the general plan's goal of enhancing connections for alternative modes of transportation. Proposed use is compatible with surrounding structures and uses. The building will be designed with articulated massing, slope roofs, and a variety of appropriately used building materials, which you will see when we do the site plan. And the building height is consistent with a single-family home, average of 21 feet. And last, the proposed use will not lead to any disruptive behavior. As I stated, the school will have a student ratio of 2-to-1, and all learning activities will be fully contained on site and carefully monitored by the staff. You know, as we know, it's in St. Dominic's interest to maintain a calm, tranquil learning environment for these children that provide a controlled sensory experience. Next slide. So, in conclusion, we do believe this use permit is appropriate, necessary, and reasonable. St. Dominic's thinks this is a good location for a school. They want to be, as you've seen from some of those support letters, in a residential environment. We were trying to find a location in Tempe. It's also near a freeway, which allows access for their current Chandler residents and students. This will allow St. Dominic's to have a permanent home. Staff is recommending approval subject to conditions. And the other thing is we've talked to the neighbors who are concerned about the number. We will agree to a cap that the maximum number of students here will not exceed 117. With that, I would ask for your support of our use permit. We're happy to answer any questions.
All right, Commission, any questions for our applicant? Vice Chair Dominic, please.
Ms. Vaz, 2 questions. The application shows that the school currently in the current site services kids on the spectrum from 18 months to 22 years. Is that correct, and is that also the intention for this site?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner DiDomenico, that is correct, and that is, and Corinna can talk a little more about it if you'd like, and that is the intention of the school in Tempe.
So really preschool / daycare services for the little ones prior to elementary school age.
Commissioner DiDomenico, that's correct. You really preschool, yes.
Okay. And bus transport. Do students or what percentage of students come by either public school bus or some other form of shared transportation?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner DiDomenico, let me tell you what I believe, and Corinna can correct me, Joanna, if you let her talk. I believe that the students come with their parents. There may be some carpooling, Corinna can discuss that, but the students are not necessarily coming on bus. They're all accompanied by an adult. We do talk about bus transport, as I mentioned to someone else, as it relates to the staff who can use the bus to get there.
Right. I asked this strictly from the trips generated. You know, my experience, I have an adult son who went to Gateway, which is Phoenix, Scottsdale area, and he did go by school bus from Tempe. So I just wondered if that was part of what this project would experience.
Oh, let me, Joanna, Corinna, do you want to answer that question? Can you?
Yeah, I can answer.
Okay. State your name first, Corinna.
My name is Corinna Doyle. I'm the founder and executive director at St. Dominic's Academy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Most of our students, so more than 2/3 of our students in our academy and all of our students in our early intervention program That's more like, 3/4 or more of our entire student population are transported to and from the school by their parents. So they're escorted to and from the car by their parents or in a carpool lane. The remaining students that are placed with us through their school district receive district transportation, but right now none of them come in a bus. So they've really all moved toward Comtrans. So it's pretty much all, well, right now it's all vans.
Okay,
Yeah, we rarely have school bus.
thank you. That answers my question. Appreciate it.
Okay. Commissioner Amorosi, please.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. Ms. Voss, I had a question. I noticed in the traffic study, it said that there was an average of 31,600 vehicle trips per day on Priest, but it didn't say how much Priest can handle. Is it more, is it 35,000? Is it 25,000? I didn't notice that number. Do you happen to know what that number is, what Priest was built for?
I might actually know that number. Otherwise, I'm going to have Jamie talk. Jamie sent me, let's see what we got going in here. So Priest is, so what I have from the traffic, and what Jamie sent me is the traffic study. I'm sorry, Commissioner Amorosi, Jamie can respond, but I have the Priest is built for 35,000 trips.
Okay, great. That's what I needed to know. Thanks.
Sure.
All right. Got some sonar pings happening here. Any other questions for our applicant? Seeing none, we will thank you for the time being, Ms. Voss. We'll come back to you in just a little bit. Okay, and let's see. Do we have Karen Stovall with us?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Karen Stovall, Senior Planner, and I'll wait for the presentation to come up. If you could please go, I'm going to skip discussion of the project because the applicant did a great job with that. If you could please go to the neighborhood meeting slide. Okay. So a neighborhood meeting was not required for this application. As of the completion of the staff report, we received one email in support of the project, a phone call with traffic concerns, and then several calls and discussions with the property owner to the east, as the applicant stated, with concerns about vehicles parking on Knox Road. Following completion of the staff report, we received approximately 10 emails in support of this project, 3 opposed and 3 with general traffic concerns. Also with concerns about downgrading of property values. I'm going to go over the use permit approval criteria briefly. The first one is if there is any significant increase in vehicular or pedestrian traffic. Redevelopment of the site will lead to an increase in traffic, but the applicant provided a traffic impact statement for review by the Transportation Division that shows that most traffic is expected to enter and exit from Priest Drive with few vehicles traveling east on Knox because there's no direct outlet to the east. Overall traffic impacts on Priest are expected to be minimal. The site plan complies with the parking requirements of the Zoning and Development Code. And due to the concerns that the neighbor raised about parking on Knox Road, we do have a condition about restricting parking directly in front of the school on both sides of the street over to the east property line of the subject site. It is not anticipated that the school use would cause a nuisance at levels exceeding the ambient conditions. Redevelopment of the site should not contribute to the deterioration of the neighborhood or downgrading of property values. The development would require right-of-way dedication on Priest and roadway improvements that would include a new sidewalk and a bus shelter, which is actually in keeping with the goals of the general plan. As far as compatibility with surrounding structures, you've seen the preliminary plans. Again, those are preliminary. A development plan review would be required. Approval would be required before the development could begin. Plans show masonry perimeter walls, landscape buffers, and building setbacks that exceed those required by code. The building does have a design with variations in massing and sloped roofs, which are compatible with the houses in the residential neighborhood surrounding the site. The use is not anticipated to lead to disruptive behavior, but staff would be on the campus whenever students are present in case any situations occur. So we are recommending approval subject to the conditions in the staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Commission, any questions for staff? Commissioner Amorosi.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. I was just wondering, are they going to, because I saw on the chat, since it's a school, does the speed limit go down to 15 miles an hour?
That has not been discussed with Transportation Department. If the individual would like to provide their contact information, I can check with Transportation to see if that would occur.
Thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Dominic.
Karen, it's my understanding that the primary point of egress from this site, even though we still are dealing with the preliminary site plan, I realize, but it's anticipated that that will not be off of Knox, but it will be off of a drive basically in the center of the new project.
Chairman and Commissioner, correct. The primary access point is expected to be Priest Drive.
So a restriction on right turn only onto Priest from this project would not impact necessarily the neighbors driving out of Knox from their homes, because that would not be an exit point for this project. So in other words, if someone wanted to restrict this so that it was right turn only onto the busier street when leaving this property, that would still mean that from Knox, people would not be restricted from making left turns or southbound turns.
Commissioner, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bauer, please.
Mr. Chairman, just a procedural request. I'm starting to see messages pop up from interested parties. I think they need to understand that those messages will not probably make it into the record, and if they have questions or comments, they really need to put it on the record formally. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly. You want to step ahead.
Chairman Lyon, thank you, Chair Commissioner Bauer. I was just about to say there is a lot of messages that are actually going to Joanna, even technical questions that she can't be in. She doesn't know how to answer anyway. Anybody who needs to speak, maybe we need to just clear that the chat is not the forum for it. It needs to be a public comment. With the comment card, we provide all the information on our agenda and on our website. And I think Joanna is getting a lot of it right now and unable to manage it because there's so many questions on the chat that's coming in.
Okay, that's fair. So once again, folks, if you wish to make a comment or ask a question with regards to the case, what we need you to do is use the tempe.org website and find the button that allows you to make a comment on a case. We're not going to be in a rush or anything. We're going to take our time, make sure we get to everyone, and we can provide 3 minutes for each person to make comments or ask questions. We can answer what questions we're able to answer. We see the questions in the chat, and we're aware of them. We're just going to funnel you through the process a little differently. So be patient with us, we'll get there. All right, Commissioner Kusama. We have you on mute still, Commissioner Kusama.
The traffic that would be entering and exiting onto Priest from the main entrance to the site, Are there peak times when that's going to occur? I can't imagine. It doesn't look to me like, based on what I'm hearing, that there's going to be heavy traffic all day long coming and going from this site. That they have arrival times and departure times that are pretty much set. Am I correct in that assumption?
Chairman and Commissioner, the applicant's letter of explanation stated that they have staggered student drop-offs proposed between 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. and then pickups between 3:30 and 4 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for staff? Okay, Ms. Stovall, we will thank you. And now let's turn to our public comment section. As I mentioned earlier, folks, we can provide each person 3 minutes to state your opinions on the case. Bear in mind, we're familiar with cases of this nature, so you can be pretty succinct and just tell us, you know, your concern is this, that, or the other, and we're very likely to understand what you're talking about. And we will provide you 3 minutes for those comments and questions. We will probably not, here's what we'll do. If you have a question, go ahead and pose it. And when we've heard all the public comment, we will come back to the applicant and they will address all the questions all at once. While you're speaking, just ask your questions and keep moving. All right, so having said that, Ms. Dasgupta, who do we have with us that wishes to speak or have something read into the record?
Chairman, we have received so far 3 comments to be either read on the record or they do not wish to be read on the record, but they are they have a position they have stated. And since the study session, when I corrected myself, I will have to correct again because I believe Mr. Mansberger would like to speak now. Before he had said he just wanted his record comment on the record. So given that, Chairman, tell me if you would like to hear the comments to be read first or the public speakers to speak first. Either way is fine. I'm happy to do both, whichever you prefer.
Let's do this. I'll ask you to read the comments first and give people a little more time to navigate the website that way. And can you go over once again the process to use the city website to file a comment?
Definitely. On the, if it's tempe.gov/planning and takes you to a virtual meeting on the right left-hand tab of the screen, it's a virtual meeting. And then there is a comment for Development Review Commission. There is a button for, there's 3 different commissions staff has on the website one, and tonight's is Development Review Commission. And it brings up the comment card to fill in the public information of the person. And then we receive that email directly, Joanna and I do. And then depending on what the card says, we inform the commission whether it's to be put on the record or if the person wants to speak.
Okay, thank you.
So I will start, Chairman, with the first comment to be read. Give me 1 second, let me pull that up. This is a comment I received on, staff received on 2/10/21. It's Jennifer Clifford, a Tempe resident. I have been a resident of Sierra Tempe for 11 years, and my backyard is on the south side of Knox, directly across from the property on Priest where your academy would reside. My backyard is currently very serene and quiet. Despite the fact we back up to Knox, the sound of traffic are surprisingly minimal. I'm concerned with the addition of a school with 100 feet over my fence. The amount of traffic noise which will occur during drop-off and pickup and children playing during recess breaks are factors that would be disruptive to my serene environment. I trust you will reevaluate your decision and thoughtfully respect the wishes of nearby residents and consider alternate locations for your academy. The second comment is from Esther Pickens. It's, I do not actually have a comment, but it just says that she's opposed to they're opposed to this development. And then the last comment I have is from Mr. Timothy O'Donnell. It says, I am very concerned about the traffic and activity issues surrounding a school, parking along the street, Knox and Sierra Temple neighborhood, activities at day and night, staff parking, parent pickup and drop off along freeway bypass road. What mitigation and safety studies have been done since this is a school? Those are the three, Chairman. And then we have some speakers.
Okay, thank you. You want to go ahead and invite our speakers one at a time?
Sure. We have Mr. James Mansberger, Chairman.
Okay, and I'll tell you again, folks, because we're allowed to give you 3 minutes to speak each person. Please keep in mind that, well, we'll be respectful of each other's time. To that end, we're going to ask Mr. Steve Abramson to let you know when your time has elapsed, and when you get there, I'll just ask you politely to finish it up so we can move on to other folks. Mr. Mansberger.
Hello, Commissioner and Commission. I'm actually the neighbor to the east of the project and to the north. So
Really quickly, one thing I neglected to do, I know we've said your name, but would you go ahead and state your name for the record,
James Mansberger. I'm the homeowner to the east, so I own all the property to the east of the school and actually all the way to the north of the school. So I completely surround the school. I've talked to Karina, the owner of the proposed school, and she's been pretty receptive to listening to my concerns. I'm in favor of it with a few conditions. I think it's odd that I do think it's a little different that you're having a meeting on a special use permit and then you're going to push the design review later, because once you've given the special use permit, it's pretty much a done deal. But anyways, I guess that's the way it's going to go. The parking, it looks like that was my biggest concern, is the parking on Knox. Now, I just saw for the first time that they're going to ask for no parking signs right to the east of their property. I'd asked the city if they would move those no parking signs down, because now if they want to park on Knox, they'll just park in front of my house, and I'm the only house on Knox. So I would ask that they move those down in front of my house also to keep people from parking. But I do appreciate that they address that issue. The other thing I'd like to see, and I don't know if you have any power to do this, but with your special use permit, let's say in 5 years, St. Dominic's decides they're not in business anymore and it turns into something else. And, do they have to go back and get a new permit? Does this process start again? Because what Karina has said, they'll do is nice. But if it was to sell in 2 years to somebody else and, now it's a building and it's going to change. So I want to make sure that whatever we agree to, that it stays, what we agreed to originally and it doesn't change into something else. Two other things. The last thing is, I noticed in the submittal there, it said they want to have a controlled sensory experience. And that's why they turn the building towards me. That's fine that they want to have a controlled sensory experience. My yard's not going to have a controlled sensory experience. So I want to make that known that, you know, I'm in ag land, I have a tractor, I run equipment. If they're trying to get a controlled sensory experience in their property, I just don't want it to be, hey, you're making noise over there and we're trying to keep this because, you know, the kids have special needs. You know, we're trying to keep the noise down and now I can't do what I want to do on my property. But other than, I guess I can bring this up in design review. Excuse me? Oh,
I believe that was the 3-minute mark. If you could go ahead and wrap up, that would be appreciated.
Okay, so those are mine, but I support the school with a few caveats there that maybe we can address in the design review. Again, I'm the only neighbor adjacent to them all the way around. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mansberger. Ms. Gupta, who else do we have with us?
Chairman, give me 1 second. The next speaker, Chairman, is Eric Emmer.
Mr. Emmert, are you with us?
I am, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead and please state your name.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the DRC. For the record, my name is Eric Emmert, 1074 West Myrna Lane in Tempe. I'm the president of Sierra Tempe number 4 HOA, which is the housing development just to the east of Mr. Mansberger's property and to the east of the subject property. On a personal note, it's nice to see so many friends in the meeting this evening. While our board of directors didn't vote on the project, I do briefly want to share some of the feedback we received from neighbors in our community. It's important to note that there are just 2 points of access into and out of our 151 single-family detached home development. That's Hardy to the west and Knox and Priest to the east, where the proposed school is. Because of the access to the south onto Priest off of Knox is such a challenge during on-peak hours, 10-minute wait times to get into traffic flow is not out of the ordinary. So our residents are focused pretty keenly on the traffic issues that this particular project may bring. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that these traffic challenges that we're going to face in our neck of the woods is going to be exacerbated by the I-10 expansion that we're going to have in the next coming years. So just real quick, these are what we got from our residents. One, while we'd like a deceleration lane for the northbound traffic on Priest, we understand that the traffic study does not suggest it. Mark Taylor development to the north put that in at our request, a deceleration lane. The Mattamy development across Priest put in a deceleration lane. It goes with the flow of traffic on Priest. So we'd like to see that if possible. I'd like to echo Mr. Mansberger's comments about the no parking. If that can be extended down that short section of Knox to Margot into our community, that'll alleviate his concerns and address some of the concerns that our folks have about parking on Knox. 3, is that my time?
Go ahead.
Okay. 3, the residents in our community do not want access to Knox. If 2 points of access to the development or to the school are necessary, put them on Priest. One could be put at the northernmost point of the subject property, and then the second one could be just north of the transit easement. Or better yet, make the Knox access point only for emergency vehicles. And then number 4, Tempe should consider putting in a traffic light at Knox and Priest. This intersection has been a problem for some time, or at the very least, you should consider a pedestrian activated crosswalk. The city of Tempe considers our green belt part of the public bike path program, and access to cross Priest and Knox would be prudent. Those are the comments that we got from residents. I want to thank Modular Vaz and Damage and Burnham. They're one of the top firms in Arizona. They've been very communicative with us. And then lastly, in closing, I support this development. We'd welcome a school as one of our neighbors. I do ask that you consider my community's comments and vote to approve the use permit.
Okay.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, not seeing any questions, so we'll thank you. All right, Ms. Gupta, who else do we have?
Sorry, Chairman, we have Michael Kaufman.
Okay, Mr. Kaufman. Mr. Kaufman, are you with us? I am not able to hear you. I see him in the attendee list, but I'm not hearing anything. If we
Chairman,
have
I can move to the next one and we can wait and come back.
let's do that.
Chairman, the next one is Ginger Masters.
All right. Ginger Masters.
Chair Lyon, please give me just a moment. I have a lot of people in the attendees list that I have to scroll through to get to each participant. So just 1 second, please.
Okay, no problem. You let us know when you're ready then.
Okay, she should be ready to go now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ginger Masters. We live next door on the Tempe side of Rhythm, across the street on Priest to the west of the proposed location. Our main concern with this proposal, we're happy with the school to be there, but it is the traffic. The main gate that we commonly use to leave our community and to enter it is the entrance on Dawn. It seems, I know it's not for the site plan today, but the site plan was showing their entrance, the main entrance into the school, to be between Dawn and Knox. I think this will further congest the Priest people turning in and out of both entrances now between Knox and Priest. We would ask that if this is done, that maybe a deceleration lane is used on both sides for the school, and one to be installed on the Rhythm side of Priest. As you know, that wasn't done previously, and it can be pretty dangerous coming out of that area sometimes. We would also request that when Tempe continues its study of the median on Priest, that the medians do not restrict left-hand turns out of our neighborhood. Being a multi-use, high-density neighborhood, both exits are highly used on Priest. And we're also asking that if there's a way to keep the speed reduced only, if it has to be reduced to only being during school hours.
Okay. Anything else you wish to add, Ms. Masters?
No, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you then.
Chairman, I have Ann Doohan.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Ms.
Great. Hello, Commissioner and Commission. My name is Ann Doohan. I live at 1193 West Janine, which is in the subdivision just to the east of the proposed school. I am in full support of the school with some hesitations in terms of the traffic, and I will not reiterate what those are. Eric Emmer kind of spoke on behalf of many of us that gave feedback through our HOA, but I would strongly encourage moving the entrance or exit entrance from Knox over to Priest as suggested, or the brilliant idea of making the fire exit only. I do have one question. In the presentation, there was a comment on right-of-way improvements and half-street improvements, and I'm wondering what those are. And that's it. Thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Doohan. All right, who else do we have?
Chairman, do we want to go back and see if Mr. Kaufman is on the line?
Let's give it a shot.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not sure what our problem was there before. This is Michael Kaufman. I am in favor of the development. Thank you.
Okay, that's concise. All right, so does that take care of our public comment, Ms. Dasgupta?
Chairman, no, I have two other comments to be read on the record. And Miss Kathy, Kathy Carso said she had submitted a form, but I do not have that particular one. But I don't know if, I think that her questions were already addressed through Chairman or Vice Chair's comments, I believe. I haven't seen any additional comments, but I'm happy to read that out if there are, if you would like me to. Her questions was about that speed limit on Priest, and the cars are moving very fast. Is there going to be a sign reducing speed limit? So suddenly, I live in this subdivision and I do not see no left or no right turn during school hours. Is this a possibility? Also, are the buyers aware that this land floods quite often with rain anywhere? So that was the comments on the chat from Ms. Kathy Carso, whose comment card may have been submitted under another different boards or commissions, possibly because I do not find that ID, but that was her comments. And then I have two more comment cards. One is, my first one is Chuck Doyle. Neither opposed or in support. In looking at site plan, the natural flow of traffic coming from south as well as accessing the drop-off lane is to access from Knox, turning left into the school property. Then exiting would complete the loop and exit back into Knox. This will create congestion for residents leaving in the morning. Would like to see all access of Priest and or gated entrance to school parking lot that would force accessing on Priest, only on Priest. The next comment card, and this is the last one so far that I have, is Miss Cynthia Parker, and she's opposed to the project, and it says, why not have the secondary exit to the north, not to Knox? Glad they are keeping the trees for shielding. That's all I have, Chairman. Joanna, did I miss any?
There's actually one that just came through from, it says Emily, and she's posted several questions on the project. It is the most recent one.
Okay, let me.
At 6:52.
Okay, there is a series of questions. This is Emily. She is opposed. Why is it being zoned for a business? Would the main entrance and exit be on Priest? Not acceptable if it is not. Will there be a parking lot for employees and parents? Would not want lines of cars all over Knox and would not want to change speed limit. Do they know the land right there floods constantly? I have photos. Will the construction disturb our creatures? It is on a busy street. A street light would need to be put on Priest. In case you didn't know, we are The only subdivision in the area that can't keep its 4-bedroom homes value over 400,000. Please do not put a school. It will bring down property value in our little subdivision even more. It is crappy enough to have all those businesses at the other exit with undesirables cutting through our streets. I have photos. We are already considered the other side of the tracks of the Sierra Tempe. Isn't that why we were dropped from Sierra Tempe 1, 2, 3? So that's the latest comment, Chairman. So that's all I have for now.
Okay. With that, I will go ahead and close the public comment. And let's circle back with Ms. Voss. We've heard a number of questions and comments. Can you please address those?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's comments and certainly appreciate Eric's comments as we were trying to work through Sierra Tempe. The answer to, we are still working with transportation related to the site plan. I think we have a site plan, trying to make site plan and circulation plan for the parents and the students. We are happy to, we would like to have an access on Knox. We're happy to continue to talk to the city about 2 access on Priest, and certainly can get back to people about that. There's not, as we've talked about, and there's probably not enough activity here to warrant lights from a school versus Rhythm, Rhythm multifamily, or not multifamily, single family development, but multiple dwelling unit there. There are certainly, one of the reasons we split this up is as we were working through, it's a small school, we're all trying to do kind of step by step, and if we were able to move past, go through this, we're happy to maybe meet with Sierra Tempe and kind of talk through some of the site circulation issues. We're certainly happy to, I think Mr. Mansberger brought up, and he's been very helpful, I can't remember if it's him or someone else, maybe it was Eric, brought up going further up Knox. Some of that is a function of the transportation department, and we're happy to work with them. The neighbors on either side of those streets will have to sign off on the no parking sign, so I can't speak for them in terms of whether we can do more no parking signs, but we're certainly happy to talk to transportation. They can talk with that. I think in terms of the school, and Corinna can talk more about it if we have comments. We think is a fairly low use. The students will be brought to the school, and you probably won't have as much traffic as you would either with the general plan designation of kind of medium density or other uses. I did want to correct somebody. We are not rezoning the site. The site will be continued to be agricultural. We're just asking for a use permit on ag land. And then to Mr. Mansberger's point, Suparna or Karen can address this, but the use permit is specific to the site plan, as you know, Mr. Chairman, and to this use. So if this use changes and we've agreed to cap to 117 students, we would have to come back to the planning department and most likely to this commission to talk about any other use. I think those are the questions, but I'm happy to answer any others.
Okay, I see Vice Chair Dominico, you have your digital hand raised.
Okay. Yes, my digital hand was raised. Ms. Vaz, two probably easy questions, and you probably can consult if you don't have the answer. First off, what's the advantage to your design as it stands now to having an access point on Knox? What makes that necessary?
You know what, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Dominico, I think Mark is on the line, who's our architect, and he can talk about it. I believe we were just, that gives, I don't know, it's probably, I'm sure it's a site circulation layout, but I understand. Somebody says, I don't know why this is like clicking, but the city asked us to do it on Knox, but that we can continue to talk to him about Priest. That was texted to me.
Okay. All right. So that's a discussion still to be had, and it's possible that that it isn't necessarily you know, a fire department access issue or anything else. Second question, how many school days per year does this school operate?
That is a critic. Do you mind answering that question?
It probably has a modified school year that isn't necessarily mirroring the public school, you know,
Yeah.
summer vacation schedule, but I'm sure there are fall and holiday, December holiday breaks and a spring break and a summer break. So how many days roughly?
That's right. This is Corinna and Doyle. We operate about 206 days a year. So we do have the normal, like you mentioned, fall break, spring break, a winter holiday. So the same breaks as a traditional school setting, but we do have a session in the summer that lasts about 6 weeks. So because of the nature of our students' disability, taking a long summer break is really challenging.
Short breaks. Lots of short breaks. All right, so 206 out of a 365-day year, there would be a student load. Now, during those downtimes, you may have the occasional teacher. How many parking spaces are designed on site, not Knox or Priest, but just specifically on site?
110.
So 110 parking spaces at its full capacity, 60 faculty members. And is it safe to say that not a single one of the students, of the 107 students, will come and will park a vehicle?
I believe that's safe to say. Corinna, can you comment on that? I don't believe any of the students are driving.
No, that would never happen. Most of our our students are pretty severely disabled.
So on a typical school day, 206 days out of the year, there would be 60 teachers who all came by their own personal vehicle and over 100 spaces on site, so 40 empty spaces at the most during the school day, outside of pickup and drop-off time. Am I missing something?
No, I think that's correct.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Amorosi.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. I had a question about everyone talking about the deceleration lanes. Would those be on either side of the main entrance on Priest? Would that cut into landscaping or parking? I'm not clear as to how that would
Yes,
work.
Commissioner Amorosi, it would certainly cut into landscaping and parking. Because as you kind of put the decel lanes into the site, it will certainly cut into that. Again, we're still working through the site plan with the city, but yes, it will.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Bauer.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of comments. I really appreciate the applicant. Apparently, they worked with the neighbors very effectively, and that line of communication is very good. I don't want to get into the details of the site plan because we'll have another hearing on that, but just a few things for the applicant. Clearly, transportation, access, deceleration lanes, potential medians are all going to be important for the neighborhood and important for me to discuss at our site development plan meeting. So I certainly, I don't know if a deceleration lane is necessary or warranted for this. I understand why the original design has an access onto Knox. Knox is a collector street at this location, and two forms of access if you are at a collector street and an arterial are typically appropriate. But these are all things that certainly be prepared to address those along with all the other comments and site development plan items that will be before us in a month or so. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
You know, Commissioner Bauer, I think that's a fair point that you've made. I appreciate your bringing it up. As an important reminder, Commission, we are not about the business of approving all aspects of this design. We are just looking at the use permit aspect. And I would suggest that if you are convinced that issues with regard to traffic and other things can and will be worked through in the coming processes and reviews, then you shouldn't let that stand in the way of your consideration of the use permit. We should consider the use permit criteria on their own. And unless you're convinced that there's a problem that will not be rectified, just consider those use permit terms. All right, do we have any further questions for our applicant then? All right, seeing none, we will thank you, Ms. Bob.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Oh, Commissioner Sumner, do you have something?
No questions, just getting ready for our next step, sir.
Okay. All right, well, give us what you got. We're going to move into our commission discussion. Commission, what are your thoughts?
Actually, Chairman Lyon, if I may jump in to make a couple comments to kind of answer some of the questions that I don't believe were fully asked.
All right, please.
Okay. As far as the no parking signs, Transportation Division did say that those signs could be installed between Priest and the east property line of the school only because it's considered, for safety zone for the school. If anything east of the subject site's east property line was going to be installed, that would require 75% of all property owners within a 300-foot radius of the no parking zone to sign off on that. So that would need to be done by request of the neighbors to the Transportation Division. And again, that's only if 75% of all property owners within a 300-foot radius sign off on that. I did want to, there was a question about other schools moving in here, other uses possible. The use permit would be approved for this specific school. It is transferable to other schools through a staff level review. There is the possibility, if the DRC chose to make the use permit non-transferable, meaning any other school that wanted to occupy the site would need to apply for a new use permit. And then someone asked about which right-of-way improvements would be required on Priest. At this time, that would include curb, gutter, sidewalk, lighting, dedication of a transit easement, and construction of a bus shelter. And that, I believe, is it for the questions that I wanted to make sure got answered. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you, Ms. Stovall. Mr. Sumner.
Just a question for Ms. Stovall. I think it was mentioned earlier in our meeting today that the applicant might be receptive to an enrollment cap, but I didn't see that condition in the report. Did I miss it, or can you just fill us in on that, Karen?
Yes, Chairman and Commissioner, that request was discussed after completion of the staff report, and that's why it was not in there. It is my understanding that the applicant is receptive to a cap on the student enrollment. So.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Commission, other thoughts? Commissioner Kusama.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say that I echo the discussion and the comments that have been made by others on this whole project, but particularly Commissioner Bauer, that a lot of what we're discussing here will be coming up during the next time we see this particular project. But again, as to what Karen Stovall said regarding the creation of more no parking areas along Knox Road, I would suggest that perhaps Eric Emmer with the neighborhood association, they get started in those discussions with the city as soon as they can, because that does take some time to get that through the system. Those are my comments, and I think the project so far looks good from a use standpoint, and I will be supporting the use.
All right. Commissioner Amorosi, please.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. I also support special school like this. I think Tempe would welcome this use. I like the idea of it being a non-transferable permit, just to be receptive to the neighbors, and the idea of a cap on enrollment, since that wasn't put in. If that's part of the use permit, I'd like to see that part of our approval process. And I'm sure the developer's going to look into making the lane, maybe getting that to be a fire emergency exit only, to work with the neighbors, but I don't think the neighbors' requests were too out of line. But I will be supporting the use permit. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Sundberg, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with Commissioner Amorosi's position on the additional conditions, and just I really appreciate Mr. Mansberger's concerns and the neighborhood's concerns. I lived about 400 feet from Corona del Sol, with a high school with an enrollment of about 2,400 kids at that time. That was a lot of traffic. There were signs in our neighborhood, and both of my kids got tickets for parking in front of our house. So I can say they're very adept at enforcement as well when they want to be. So all of this is manageable at the site plan review, at the development plan review phase. But for a school that has an enrollment right now of 33 and a cap of 177, I'm not as concerned about traffic. And Chairman, I'm trying to follow your advice and stick to the 5 criteria, and I'd be happy to support this project.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, please.
Yes, I too am in support of the additional stipulations. I'm not sure if that would go in this stage of the use permit. I believe so, as far as non-transferable. I'm not sure if the cap goes with this piece of it too. It sounds like it may. But I think it's a terrific use for expanding the capacity available to the school and to the needs of those students. And it sounds to me like they are working well with the neighbors, and there's just a lot more conversation to be had with the next step. So I will be in support, and I am in support of the 2 additional stipulations.
Okay. Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask the applicant or Ms. Vaz as the representative whether they would be amenable to the 2 additional conditions of approval for the use permit that have been discussed.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner DiDomenico, yes, of course. We're happy to support both those conditions, and we appreciate your support.
So just to be clear, it's a cap on student enrollment of 117, and a non-transferability of the use permit beyond the current operator and the current use.
Yeah, I think, yes, as a cap at 117, which is also, actually, maybe I didn't state that properly. It was in my conclusion, I meant to say, like, that is something we'd absolutely agree to, and certainly we agree to the non-transferability of the use permit. I mean, or we would come back to you all to request, that's the way that would work. Just so, now I understand that, but Corinna's understanding that, for Karen's point, we will come back to the DRC if it needs to be transferred. Is that the way that works? Just so we can all confirm.
Yeah, you go to staff, and it would be possibly a staff level approval, and it may.
Oh, I see. Yes, of course. Anyway, okay, got it. Sorry. Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner DiDomenico, we do support both those conditions as stated by Commissioner DiDomenico. 117 cap and non-transferability.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose approval with the conditions as discussed of St. Dominic Academy, which is PL 210002.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Casano. I would second that motion.
All right. I'm going to make a couple of notes here. Commissioner Johnson, do you have a comment?
Oh, nope, sorry.
Okay, no problem. All right, so just before we vote on that motion, I'd like to thank the Commission for their comment. I agree with everything that I've heard, most everything. Make sure I haven't committed to too much there. And I'd just like to say to all those who have joined us, we do appreciate those concerns and we share much of those. We want to make sure that those things are worked out as well as possible. I think the key thing for me here is you're going to get a use of some kind on this property, and I think this is a good and appropriate use. In the following steps, the applicant is going to have to work more aggressively on addressing all of these concerns, and we are concerned that they get worked through as well. All right, so having said that, we have a motion to approve with the two conditions of the cap at 117 students and the permit being non-transferable from Vice Chair DiDomenico and seconded by Commissioner Cassano. Commissioner Bauer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Cassano?
Aye.
Vice Chair DiDomenico?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Commissioner Summers?
Aye.
Commissioner Amorosi?
Aye.
And Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. So, well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we will move on now to Superstar Car Wash.
Chairman, before we move to the next agenda item, I just wanted to make sure, because the public hearing process was already closed by then, but we received staff received a few more comments, but they are all related to the design. So we will certainly, I just wanted to make sure that the people who just submitted those and watching, that we have received those comments, and we will definitely take a look at that during with the design process. So those comments are not going to be ignored. They will be still archived in our records along with the design consideration. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, appreciate that update. Thank you, Suparna. All right, so let's try Superstar Car Wash. And I believe we're looking for Brian Turco. Are you with us, Mr. Turco?
Good evening, Chair. This is actually Brennan Ray with Birch and Cracchiolo, representing Superstar Car Wash. I will be presenting this case before you tonight, if that works.
Certainly.
Wonderful. I can see you, but you can't see me, so I'm sorry about that. The wonders of technology sometimes only work one way. But with that being said, Brennan Ray, 1850 North Central, on behalf of the applicant, Superstar Car Wash. They are the proposed developer of a challenging infill site that is recently closed as a Burger King. And I think there's lots of challenges when we look at it, certainly when you look at its mid-block location and some existing well-established uses in the area. And when you take a look at the immediate area being a mix of industrial and commercial. We appreciate the thoroughness of staff's written report and their recommendations. We're okay with the STIPs and would request this body's approval. With that, I'll kind of touch on some things and really get to kind of the meat of it here in a minute. But as you can tell from this slide, we check all the boxes. In terms of the general plan and the mixed use industrial designation, we're consistent with that. We comply with the city zoning code, certainly the noise ordinance, we meet those requirements, but as I'll get to in a little bit later, since we last were in front of you, we've made some additional changes that have allowed us to far exceed the city's criteria when it comes to noises. And then as it relates to the use permit requirements, we believe those are satisfied. If we can go to the next slide, it's always important to understand, I think you're all very familiar with the site, but you can see it outlined there in light blue, the site that we're talking about there along Broadway Road. A lot of that development exists. I know it was actually by the site today, and there's a new Black Rock coffee shop that's going on the north side. Thinks that looks like that's pretty close to opening because I know there were some guys out there talking and doing some internal work, it looked like. Next slide. So the general plan designates it as mixed use industrial. And that designation, among other things, permits general industrial land uses that are allowed in the light industrial and general industrial zoning districts. And so, next slide, the car wash, as indicated, clearly is within the GID zoning district. And you can see that on the north, we've got some existing commercial, some multifamily, and then further north of that is a single family development. But to our south, west, and east, that's all a combination of commercial and industrial uses. I'm happy to go into as much detail as you would like about the site layout, the architecture, the landscaping, because as you know, the request before you are for a use permit and development plan review approval. But with your permission, I'd rather kind of focus on kind of the neighborhood meeting that we had, the issues that we heard, and some of the changes that we've made as a result of that meeting.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Perfect. If I can go to the next slide. So as this commission is well aware, for a use permit, a neighborhood meeting is not required. But as we were leading into the January 26th hearing, started to hear some concerns, and so took the opportunity to pause for a minute, and we're grateful for this commission's continuance back then to reach out to the neighbors. So we did have that neighborhood meeting on the 16th. About 15 neighbors showed up, and there were kind of three main issues coming out of that neighborhood meeting of noise, traffic, and property values. Next slide. And so as we look at it, one of the things that we've done and prepared is submitted a traffic noise study. That noise study does a number of things, and we've submitted two of them, one that was initially reviewed and one that we just recently submitted on Friday. But that noise study takes a look at a couple of things. One is, the first thing that it does is it looks at the ambient noise, and in particular focusing on the single family residential that's approximately 280 feet north of Broadway Road. That existing ambient noise has a decibel reading of 60. And so when the noise consultant takes a look at it and we start looking at the various scenarios and really dialing it in and trying to understand it, they presume the worst. They presume that all the blowers are on, the vacuums are on, the equipment on, that everything is constantly on at the same time, which, as you know, isn't always the case. There's intermittent noise that comes from the car wash, from the vacuums, but I'm not aware of a scenario under which everything is on at the same time. But nevertheless, that's what this noise study presumes. And so if we go to the next slide, this will kind of give you an idea of where the tunnel location is. And that tunnel location is approximately 370 feet, or a football field and a third, away from the closest single-family residential. We do have multifamily residential that's adjacent to us on the other side of Broadway, but a lot of the concerns that we were hearing, and I think the neighbors lived in the single-family community north of us, so we've kind of focused on that. It should be noted that the way that a typical car wash or a car wash like this works is that the motors for the vacuums are located within an enclosed building. So it's not as if the motors are out there blowing and going. You do hear the vacuum nozzles, but obviously the equipment is housed in an enclosed building. The dryers or the blowers are located as far back as we can put them within a building. And as staff indicated in the written report, there's a number of things that we've done on the site to try to further mitigate that noise. The next slide. So this is, and I'll try to walk through it as quickly as I can. I'm not going to pretend to be an acoustical engineer, but this study, this option one, analyzed what was initially proposed and initially reviewed by staff in terms of the equipment that we were using. And you can see on this that there was the blowers. We did have some acoustic block lining the tunnel to help mitigate it. But importantly, as you look at this particular slide, and as staff indicated in their report, we met the city's criteria for noise and the noise levels at the residential property line. but hearing the concerns of the neighbors and listening to them and discussing things further with Superstar Car Wash, they decided to go back and say, all right, well, we've heard the concerns. Let's see if we can't do better. The next slide, please. So this is the result of the neighborhood input and the listening that we've done. And that is that we have changed out the blower system to go with this IDC stealth blower system, which is more costly and does a much better job of restricting the sound. And you can see on that the difference in the noise immediately right out of the gate. I mean, the noise at our property line, you can see on that, hopefully, is 57 decibels. 47 decibels when we get to Black Rock Coffee, but as we get to those apartments, it's 45, and importantly, when you get to the single-family residences, it's 33, which is well below what is required in terms of the city's noise ordinance. And just a reminder that the noise from Broadway is still 60 decibels that exist out there today, regardless of whether this car wash goes in or not. So we think on the noise, we've done a great job listening, changing our equipment around, and further providing additional mitigation to that single-family residential to the north. The next issue that we had, as I mentioned, dealt with traffic. And so one of the things that we did was we did a traffic impact statement to understand kind of what the change from a Burger King to a car wash would do to that traffic. And as this group knows, traffic typically, when we're looking about generations, is analyzed during AM and PM peak hours. One of the things that we're doing to the site is eliminating one of the driveways. There's 2 out there today, and through this process, we are proposing to eliminate one of them, which will give us a better controlled access, better to eliminate the number of driveway cuts onto Broadway, which is a very busy street. So ITE, which is the Institute of Transportation Engineers, publishes their criteria for uses and what we look at. They don't have any data for the AM peak, and that's likely because during AM peak hours, there's not a lot of high generating traffic that occurs during the AM peak hour. And so the focus, as you can see on your screen, has been on the PM peak. And you can tell there very quickly that the car wash during the PM peak will generate less traffic than the commercial, than a fast food restaurant at that location. And I think that Burger King's been there for, I don't know if it's 20 years, 19 years, 18 years. It's been there a long time. So one of the things also that our traffic engineer told us is that many of the trips that are going to this car wash are pass by in nature, meaning that these are people that are already traveling on Broadway, see the car wash. We live in a wonderful state where there's lots of dust and cars get dirty, and so they want to stop in and get it cleaned. And so this isn't, contrary to some other developments that are destination driven, like a big commercial shopping center or that. The nature of a car wash is that it generally picks up people as they drive by. And so as we look at it from a traffic standpoint, we believe that we are meeting the criteria from a noise and certainly a traffic standpoint. As I mentioned, one of the other issues that came up dealt with property values. And as we talk about property values, that's always a tough topic to address because as we look at it, property values are something that, as I've understood, usually it's the fear of the unknown that kind of impacts property values. And here we're obviously in a very mature, established part of Tempe, very industrial, very commercial in nature. And we although I can't tell you with the gospel truth, we don't believe that there will be a negative impact to the residential property values in the area. And so with that, again, I can go into the detail as to the 5 criteria for a use permit. Staff has done a good job in their report, doing their analysis of the 5 criteria. We agree with everything that staff said in their report, including we are okay with a stipulation number 3 of the use permit that limits the hours of operation. This is not a 24-hour car wash that people can come in the middle of the night. The hours are controlled. There are employees on site to ensure that people behave and are doing the right thing. And that stipulation certainly is something that we're okay with. So again, I know that I perceive there's lots of neighbors that have submitted comments and that want to talk tonight. And I can go into as much detail as I mentioned in terms of the site plan, the elevations and stuff like that. I can go point by point, if you'd like me to, into the details of the use permit criteria and how we think we're satisfying it. But I want to be respectful of your time, respectful of the neighbors that have shown up tonight. And so with that, we would request, and you can go to the next slide, we would request your approval of the use permit and development plan in accordance with staff's recommendations. I am happy to answer the questions that you might have, and Chair, as is customary, certainly would like the opportunity for follow-up questions and some rebuttal after the public comment period.
Certainly, that's exactly how we intend to do that. All right, thank you for your presentation. I think the approach is appropriate, and we'll just circle back and hit questions as they're needed. So, Commission, questions for our applicant? Quiet now. All right, so we may have more questions for you later. For the time being, we will thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Vice Chair Mike DiDomenico. Do you have something you want to throw at our applicant?
Yeah, just one simple question. On the drawings we saw, there was signage shown on the building that had all kinds of words, and it wasn't just a logo and the name of the business. Is that the intended signage to be put on this building?
Through the chair, Commissioner DiDomenico, let me pull up my elevations really quick to take a look at that signage, if you'll bear with me.
That shows it there.
Yep, I've got it in my presentation. I'm going to pull up something a little more detailed on my screen. You've got my presentation. Bear with me 1 minute so I can confirm what our signage is going to be. Thank you for your patience. Through the chair, Commissioner DiDomenico, that is the actual signage that is proposed. What is on it is obviously the name of the company, Superstar Car Wash, and then beneath that, you might not be able to see the details, but it just says free vacuums underneath it. And obviously we will comply with the city's sign code requirements.
Wonderful. I'll just have staff chime in on whether or not that's an acceptable sign. Thank you. I appreciate your answer.
Okay. Ms. Stovall.
Chair and Commissioner, so signs are not reviewed as part of this development plan review. So any signage shown on the renderings or elevations are not necessarily approved. They do go through a separate process. So what you see here may not be what's actually approved.
Fair enough. Well, while we've got you, will you go ahead with your presentation?
Yes, I will. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, I am going to briefly go over the site design. So this project is located at 1139 West Broadway, just east of Price Road. The property is zoned GID. The applicant is requesting approval of a use permit to allow a car wash in the GID zoning district and development plan review approval for the site plan, landscape plan, and the building elevations. This is the site plan slide. The existing building, which was a fast food restaurant, would be demolished, and replaced with a 5,220 square foot automatic car wash with self-serve vacuum stations. The site would be accessed by a single driveway on Broadway Road, and the plan you see here depicts the car wash tunnel along the east property line with self-serve vacuum canopies on the west side of the site. The lot is over 400 feet deep, and the queue lane for the car wash tunnel begins near the south property line, which would provide adequate stacking distance. If you could go to 2 slides down, please. There you go. So the proposed building is single story and reaches just over 30 feet high. The design incorporates integral colored masonry and stucco in shades of gray, and metal canopies above the windows and at the tunnel exit are bright red. The building sidewalls extend from the tunnel at the front exit over 8 feet on one side and 13 feet on the other on the north elevation in order to provide a recessed look for the tunnel to provide more screening from Broadway. The vacuum canopies are constructed of metal tubing that are painted to match the building and also have red fabric that matches the building canopies. If you could go to the next slide, please. And the next one. Okay, so regarding the use permit approval criteria, the Transportation Division has reviewed the plan, and other than requiring upgrades to the driveway on Broadway, has no concerns. The site does have the 2 driveways, and one would be eliminated as part of this request. So that would reduce the number of curb cuts on Broadway. The long queuing distance that the plan provides to the tunnel should prevent vehicles from backing up into the public right-of-way. Number 2, the use will generate noise from the car wash tunnel, self-serve vacuums, and vehicles. There are uses on the south side of Broadway adjacent to the site that include a hardware store and a self-storage facility. And as already stated, directly north on Broadway, there are restaurant uses. The proposed use should not create a nuisance at a level that exceeds that of ambient conditions. The next criteria is whether the use would contribute to the deterioration of the neighborhood. The general plan identifies the site and others along Broadway as mixed-use industrial, and the existing zoning district permits a car wash subject to use permit approval. Staff has determined that the use should not contribute to the deterioration of the neighborhood. The next criteria is compatibility with surrounding structures and uses. The single-story building is compatible with the existing structures on the south side of Broadway, and which also include retail and warehouse uses. And lastly, the use is not anticipated to lead to disruptive behavior. If anything does occur, employees will be on the site during the hours of operation. Next slide, please. So as previously stated, a neighborhood meeting was not required for the use, but following the continuance from the January DRC hearing, the applicant held a voluntary neighborhood meeting. I had approximately 12 people attended, could be 15, I didn't necessarily have to count. And they expressed concerns related to traffic, noise, property values, a desire for more neighborhood-friendly uses, and that the use would not be compatible with the Tempe Maker District. Staff received 7 emails and 2 phone calls before completion of the staff report, and then following completion, we received 8 voicing similar concerns, and also 1 email in support. If you could go to the next slide, please. Staff is recommending approval of the use permit and the DPR subject to the stipulations in the report, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Vice Chair DiDomenico, I see your hand still. Okay, any questions from the board? All right, seeing none, we will thank you for the time being. All right, Ms. Gupta, who do we have with us that wishes to make public comment?
Chairman, we have 2 that would wish to speak, so maybe they can go first since it's getting late, and then I can read the rest of the comments on for the record. So the first one is Mr. Larry DeGenis.
All right, Mr. DeGenis?
Yes, thank you. My name is Larry DeGenis, and I'm the chair of the Holdeman Neighborhood Association. And first off, I just want to thank you for allowing me a chance to speak tonight. On behalf of my neighborhood, I am here tonight to voice my opposition to the car wash. The Holdeman neighborhood is located north of Broadway Road, directly across the street from this site. And given its close proximity to our neighborhood and the fact that this is located on a prominent street-facing lot along the Broadway corridor and the Tempe Maker District, we just feel this is not an appropriate location for a car wash. There are four main reasons why this car wash does not meet the legal criteria for approval and cannot be legally permitted for this location. The first reason is traffic. The city of Tempe highlighted in their Vision Zero plan that this section of Broadway Road is one of the most dangerous streets in all of Tempe. So adding a high volume standalone car wash, a car wash that is big enough to handle enough cars for 40 parking spaces and 30 vacuum cleaners at one time, the in and out traffic of the car wash will only make it more challenging to achieve the Tempe's Vision Zero goal of reducing the number of fatal and serious injury crashes to zero. The second reason is noise. Now, the Superstar Car Wash's own noise study indicates that it violates the noise ordinance. There is an exhibit within the noise study that indicates this, in which my neighbor, Alex Otto, will discuss in more detail. The third reason is a lack of compatibility with the area in the Tempe Maker District. We believe this doesn't conform with the vision for the Tempe Maker District plan, in which the DRC and the City Council passed 7-0 just over a year ago. The purpose of the Tempe Maker District plan is to redevelop and attract local Tempe-based businesses and to make the area more walkable for neighbors and nearby residents to enjoy, to achieve the goal of a live, work, play environment in a 20-minute city. A car wash is not compatible with this vision. The coming and going of traffic and the noise emitted from the car wash will only make it more challenging to attract more local businesses and redevelop this area. Simply put, there is no reason for anyone to ever walk to a car wash. The fourth and final reason is the impact on property values. For the reasons I discussed, this will be detrimental to the property values in our neighborhood. This is especially the case for the neighbors that live on 19th Street, Schaefer Drive, and 18th Street, as they will be most affected by the noise.
Mr. DeGenis, time.
Yes. Yes.
If you would just go ahead and wrap up your comments, please.
Okay, yeah, I'll wrap it up. I want to thank you. So yeah, in conclusion, we just urge the DRC to exercise concern for the community and not allow our car wash to occupy this space. That is all my comments for this evening, and thank you again for allowing me a chance to speak tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. DeGenis. Ms. Dasgupta, who else do you have?
Chairman, the next speaker is Mr. Alex Otto.
Hello, Alex Otto with OSW Audio, Tempe, Arizona, 85281, Holdeman neighborhood. I appreciate that the applicant provided a noise impact projection. I take no issue with the findings of the noise projection as prepared by Ambi Acoustics. They do excellent work and are well respected in the industry. One thing worth noting, and I believe anyone who's involved with this modeling of complex acoustic behavior would agree, is that models don't provide 100% certainty. In this case, they do not provide a guaranteed performance metric. It is simply the best approximation of what we expect to happen based on current knowledge. The language in the report chooses the term projection over prediction. This is an important distinction that is relevant to this case. In a prediction, we expect the outcome will be fairly certain and the changes to the inputs of the model will have a negligible effect. In the case of a projection, it allows and assumes that changes could alter the outcome of the findings. This is a massive reduction in the degree of certainty. This is an important distinction which makes the point that this is an earnest, honest approximation of what is expected, but by no means a guarantee of performance. Keep in mind, this is only a projection, not a study or detailed analysis or field verifiable measurement of the performance of a completed car wash built to this particular specification. Now, it looks like there were some adjustments made to the initial report, and that they've proposed some equipment that'll make less noise, as the report suggests, versus the original. Now, one thing to note about the report, if you notice the area that's highlighted in blue, it simply reads greater than 65 dB. Now, 65 dB, that could be 65 dB, 75 dB, 95 dB, 105 dB. I've measured the exit tunnels at multiple car washes around town, and they're generally speaking around 90 to 95 dB. If you measure while you're inside your car with the same 90 dBA scale rating, you'll measure upwards of 95 to 100 dB in some of these tunnels. Now, the issue is that since this is a projection, not a prediction, it wouldn't be outside the possibility that this project would not meet the spec. The other thing to note is that we're only 3 feet from the property line to the east, where the storage facility is. Now, because of this proximity to the property line, there is no equipment modification that would allow the car wash to comply with the noise standard at the east property line, including swapping the location or changing the equipment, as I said. And now, in addition, close inspection of the car wash design reveals a unique attribute of the tunnel roof. It has a porous roof, meaning that the roof is designed to leak sound out. The entire roof of the tunnel is made of shade sail material. It is not solid. This allows energy to escape out of the top of the tunnel. The benefit to the car wash operator is that an open roof reduces the effect of a solid enclosed tunnel, which can resonate and project and amplify the sound of the blowers originating at the tunnel exit, which is oriented towards the neighborhood and the residential zoning areas. It may help to benefit noise compliance with the residential area at the expense of releasing more noise into the industrial area. Yes.
Fine.
If you would wrap up your
Sure. Long and the short of it, there is no guarantee that this is going to meet the spec. It won't even meet the spec of the mixed use area because of the proximity to the border. Because of this, there's no sense in approving this. It will not meet the spec. And additionally, I would just like to point out, I appreciate that they tossed in a new study at the last moment here, but notice that the car wash operator's application does not include any certification, verification, direct measurement provided by an independent third party of a completed car wash built to the specifications that describe in the application. They simply have not demonstrated the ability to build a car wash that will perform to the specs they have presented as a basis in which to obtain the permits. This is a critical failing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Buscutta, I believe you have some other comments to read into the record.
Yes, Chairman. The first comment is from Linda O'Connor, opposed to the project. We have lived in the neighborhood north of Broadway since 1979. We would like to see it become part of the Maker District. We envision an area that would enhance the area. A car wash does not fit that image, no matter how sleek the design. As many have stated, there are enough car washes in the area. A car wash would be similar to Gateway. Chairman, I'm sorry, some of these comments have some not so great language, and I've been instructed by Mr. LeVec to not read some of these if that's the way it is. So I'm just going to stop right there with this one.
All right.
The next one is Therese Elliott, opposed to the project. I have lived in the Holdeman neighborhood since 1959 and oppose putting a car wash across the road from our community on Broadway. The reasons are many that would disrupt our lives with our traffic and noise, and it would lower the value of our property. Please respect our concerns and locate the car wash in an area that is not so close to our home. The next one is Harley Schwartz, opposed. My name is Harley Schwartz and I'm a Tempe resident. I would like to express my disapproval of allowing a car wash to operate at 1139 Broadway Road due to concerns of noise, added traffic, and potential groundwater and pollution issues. Further, I would like to mention that this is a counter to this for Tempe Maker District Plan that was approved that includes a supposed commitment to improve the walkability of Broadway Road. The next one is David Myers, opposed. It is a very long one, Chairman, if you would like me to read the whole thing, but it is in opposition to the meeting. And during the Zoom meeting with Mr. Ray, representative of the car wash, much of the discussion concerned the noise expected to be emitted by the car wash machinery. Mr. Ray compared the noise that will be generated by the car wash as to living near a freeway and a noise generated by vehicles traveling on that freeway. He commented that nearby homeowner would eventually get accustomed to the noise and would no longer hear it. If one lives near a freeway where the vehicles are already accelerated and are driving at constant speed or power setting, then the statement might be somewhat true. Whereas if you live near a freeway or road where there are traffic lights that cause the traffic to stop, then rev the engines to accelerate. Once the light changes on green is different. Those of us who live within the couple of blocks of West Broadway Road experience these accelerating noises from the vehicles that transition across West Broadway Road. I'm assuming the dryer fans would not run continuously all day, just when needed to dry a car. Then when the car starts, they will produce an accelerating noise, much as a vehicle when it turns green. My concern with the car is that drying fast, fans will be producing accelerating noises randomly from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. I understand the applicant had a noise assessment conducted that states that the noise levels will not exceed city's maximum level, but I do not think you can put a max level on nuisance noise. Additionally, the building will be aimed directly towards homes and close to apartments. Some people are living nearby with shift workers who need to sleep during the day and not get up at 7 a.m. unless the noise from accelerating dryer fans do not allow them to sleep. Or they may want to sit outside in their yards without the nuisance noise of the fans going. I am comfortable with the Tempe City staff's assessment that the proposed use should not create nuisance at a level exceeding ambient conditions, and the use should not contribute to deterioration of the neighborhood of downgrading of properties. Whoever decided this is not one taking the risk should the assessment be wrong. As a homeowner who lives close by to the proposed car wash, I am one of many taking the risk. For the reasons stated above, I do not approve the request for Superstar Car Wash. The next one is Kevin Roberts, opposed. First, it's a shame that it's so difficult to have your voice heard or something so important to people that will be adversely affected. We don't need another car wash. Tempe is looking. Okay, I'm gonna have to skip some of that again. And everywhere, if every vacant lot have a big business, there's business that stop the madness and get back to the neighborhoods and family values. Zoe Stein, opposed. I'm a resident of Holdeman neighborhood and I'm opposed to the car wash opening near our neighborhood. Please do not allow this project. We do not need car wash here. Amanda Risky, I'm writing to express my disapproval of the plans for a car wash on Beck and Broadway. I'm a homeowner and live on 17th Place and Beck, not leave. There are already plenty of car washes in the area. We need local businesses. Plus, we already have factors close on Broadway. Not exactly sure what this means. Number of pollutants. Adding car wash, there will be impact following potential noise impacts, increased traffic impact on our values and vision of Tempe Maker District Broadway Corridor Revitalization Plan. Chairman, give me 1 second.
Almost there, folks.
I have 2 more, so please bear with me. Marsha Roberts, opposed. I'm concerned about the noise. I am a homeowner that lives on 19th Street. There is already a lot of noise from the big truck from the dairy. I'm also concerned about my property value. The statement that car wash may not affect the property is not encouraging. And then the last one is Ellen Brown, opposed. I'm opposed to this car wash because of the noise it will create. The previous business, Burger King, was very quiet due to the unsuccessful operation, so it was difficult to compare the noise or traffic of that restaurant, which was low. My second opposition is that it will create a lot of additional traffic on Broadway Road for many hours a day. Finally, I oppose because of the oversaturation of the market for car washes. There are several others nearby within 5-minute radius. If a car wash is thus unsuccessful due to a large amount of competition, it may close and thus leave an unoccupied business to further lower the value of the apartment across the street and the single-family dwellings in close neighborhoods. That's all I have, Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Self-Gupta. Okay. So with that, I will close the public comment section. And let's come to Mr. Ray again. Are you still with us?
I am. Thank you, Chair, members of the Commission. I'll be brief in my comments. I heard a lot of the same things that I think I previously addressed during my presentation, and so I'll be, again, really brief. With respect to the concerns about traffic, again, I could pull up the slide and show you what's been studied by a professional traffic engineer, but the reality is that this car wash during the critical travel times of the day, PM, peak hours, generates less traffic than a Burger King running at full operations. The traffic obviously is part of the review process and reviewed by professional staff at the city, and as Karen indicated, there are no concerns from their perspective and their professional experience about the traffic and this use. With respect to the noise, and if we can go to slide 8 on my presentation, I think it's important, as many of you are aware, to understand the context and the environment in which we find ourselves, in that this is an infill site. Go up one more. Other way, sorry. It's an infill site that has immediately adjacent to that neighborhood on the north side a Black Rock drive-through coffee shop and a Filiberto's with a drive-through up there. And those drive-through operations are certainly a lot closer to that existing neighborhood than our car wash is. And again, just to reiterate, we've changed the equipment from the equipment that we were proposing during the neighborhood meeting. That is this next slide below this one. That's the noise study. That's not the equipment that we're using. The equipment that we're using on the next slide clearly demonstrates that even if I'm within margin of error of, plus 10 feet, let's say, on where these projections will occur, there still is less impact to the neighbors than would otherwise be felt. And just to clarify one of the comments about the freeway noise, I made that in the context of the noise that you hear from Broadway Road, not the noise that the car wash will generate, because again, ambient noise level from Broadway Road is 60 decibels, which is higher than what this change will do. So with that, again, I can go into as much details as you'd like in terms of the criteria. I think staff's done a good job presenting their justification for it. We agree with their analysis and would request your approval. Again, happy to answer any additional questions that you all might have.
All right. Commission questions for Mr. Ray. Vice Chair Dominic.
Mr. Ray, I don't think we need to go back to the sound study, but I did go through MD Acoustics. There's situation 2, I think, or option 2 with the stealth equipment. Just tell me if I'm wrong here, reading it wrong. On the sound map, they did show that there is some bleed of sound at the exit point of the tunnel in this over 65 and 60 to 65 decibel range that bleeds over across the property line onto your neighbors to the east, directly to the east of you. Am I missing something? Am I not seeing the map correctly?
Through the chair, Commissioner DiDomenico, yes, I believe you are correct. Just doing my best guess of thumbing, because I see that the site plan is overlaid on to the aerial there as you kind of look at it. There is some bleed over our property line to the self-storage facility that is directly east of us.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Commissioner Amorosi, please.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. Mr. Ray, are you aware that this area was designated the Tempe Makers District? And if you are, could you explain to me how you think a car wash is part of that vision?
Through the chair, Commissioner Amorosi, I think as I've always understood planning documents, and certainly when we're talking about general plan, a general plan sets forth kind of visions, goals. But really when we start to delve in and look at a particular site, one of the things that we go to is the site's current zoning. And as you are aware, the site's current zoning is general industrial. And so when we look at that and look at the criteria specifically for a use permit, I think that's the criteria by which this is to be judged in terms of those 5 criteria. Again, I know that general plans are there and they talk about visions and stuff like that. And this potentially would be, from my perspective, a different discussion if we were talking about a rezone, a full-on rezone, but because the use is permitted within the general industrial designation, and the general plan has specific language in it. If you look in the general plan as to what the mixed use designation allows, and obviously it's been updated to show that mixed use designation, it does permit general industrial land uses that are allowed in the light industrial and general industrial zoning districts. So from our perspective, we are consistent with the general plan and certainly meet the appropriate criteria to take a look at this development.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, please.
Sorry, trying to unmute. I appreciate the visual that the acoustic study provides with the upgrade of the equipment. My question would be, and maybe I missed it in the staff report, but is the equipment used defined in the staff report? So what's to say that that upgraded type of equipment will be what's installed?
Through the chair, Commissioner Johnson, I don't believe that the staff report specifically identifies that we are going to use an IDC stealth blower system. Certainly, if that is something that this group would want to include as a condition of approval of the use permit, I don't think we have a problem with that. Certainly, it's our intention, as we've presented to staff with the sound study presented here tonight to you all, to use that, what is option number 2 or scenario number 2 with the IDC stealth blower system.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Vice Chair Dominico, I see your hand up. Do you have another question?
Nope, I just keep forgetting to put it down, sorry.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? All right, I think we've about done with questions then. Well, thank you, Mr. Ray.
Thank you.
All right, Commission, your thoughts? Commissioner Bauer, please.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate everybody's comments this evening. Appreciate staff's thorough analysis that was done for this staff report and reviewing the plethora of information provided by the applicant and the comments from the neighbors. These are processes that are sometimes misunderstood by those that are not in development or in zoning. And Mr. Ray did point out a very cogent and important point, that general plans are guidelines and zoning is the directing mechanism in which to establish uses and the appropriateness of those uses. Overlaying a use permit requirement provides additional analysis, and there are those specific findings that must be made in order to deem that that use and its design are appropriate within that zoning district. Certainly staff's outlined those in the staff report. Mr. Ray has addressed them, and I can find nothing in any of the presentations. I find only that the use permit criteria as established by the City of Tempe zoning ordinance have been met in this case. In fact, I will say from traffic standpoint, this use will generate less traffic per the ITE manual than a fast food restaurant with a drive-through. I've done a number of fast food restaurants in my time. I've argued traffic and traffic mitigation for fast food restaurants, and certainly this is a use that will generate less traffic. Noise is a determinant criteria, and the City of Tempe has a noise standard in their code provisions. And it's my understanding through staff's review and the modified noise study that has been prepared by the applicant's consultant that this use meets those noise criteria. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to support this approval of this use. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Amorosi.
Thank you, Chairman Lyon. How I look at this is that the bottom line is we're going to approve a usage here. It's a use permit. And just because something is allowed, the use is allowed, doesn't make it right for the area, especially since Tempe designated the area between Broadway, the US 60, and Priest and Kyrene as the Makers District. They want to revitalize this area. On their website, they want to have mixed use opportunities. They want to have locally crafted products and services that are manufactured there. They want to make it more walkable. The car wash doesn't fit into that use at all, that vision at all. And I go back to when I was chair for the Apache Boulevard Redevelopment Committee, and we had a vision too, and I would go present in front of the DRC, and I'd say, this use isn't what the people want to revitalize this area. And the commission would say, well, but it's allowed. You know, it's the same thing that I'm hearing here, that it's allowed. And what happens is that bad use goes in and then it's there. They might say it's intermediary, but it's not. Once it's there, it takes so much longer to revitalize the area. And it's only because we don't step in and make that vision become a reality. And so that's what I look at. Yes, it's a legal use, but it's not the right use to create a Makers District. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Dominic.
Okay, this time I meant to. I follow and appreciate Commissioner Bauer's very intelligent analysis and understanding of the law. And I was with him right up until the last point he made. In evaluating the approval of a use permit, we have a set of criteria that we measure it against. And I am in agreement that this will actually create a decrease from the prior use in vehicular or pedestrian traffic. I agree that, I don't have a problem with car washes per se as a use, and we've heard, quite a few of them over the years. I do not think it contributes to the deterioration of property values of the neighborhood. Frankly, an empty restaurant building like the Tijuana Tilly's building that's been in that area for, in excess of a decade probably does a lot more damage. The one of the tests that I can't get past, and the applicant agreed with my analysis, is that there is an excess noise over and above what's allowed, that this construction, even with the newer technology that they've offered up, will still bleed over, not to the neighborhood to the north of the site and across Broadway, but onto the immediately adjacent site to the east. And it currently, I believe, is a mini storage use. In the future, it will likely be something else. It could be infill apartments or some other Makers District acceptable use. But nevertheless, this is creating a noise nuisance that goes onto that property. And so for that one reason and one reason alone, I will not support the use permit here.
All right, other comments? If we have no further comments, let's have a motion of one variety or another.
Mr. Chairman, if no one else will venture to move this along, I recommend approval of application ZUP 2060 and DPR 200-135, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report and the commitment by the applicant to include the upgraded equipment that was modeled in the latest noise analysis.
Okay, do I hear a second? Commissioner Johnson?
I'll second.
Okay. So we have the motion to approve with the stipulation that the stealth system be used from Commissioner Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Bauer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Casano,
Aye.
Vice Chair DiDomenico.
Nay.
I vote aye. Commissioner Sumners,
Aye.
Commissioner Amorosi,
Nay.
and Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes 5-2 with Vice Chair DiDomenico and Commissioner Amorosi in dissent. All right, so that concludes our major items of business. Ms. Dasgupta, can you give us an update on future projects and meetings, please?
Certainly, Chairman and Commission members. At this time, we do not have that list because the next meeting is not until March 23rd. But on March 4th, which is a Wednesday, I believe, we will get you the agenda at that time. So yes, March 3rd is when we will distribute the agenda and you will receive it at that point.
Okay, fair enough. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your participation and thanks for sticking with us. Time for phone calls, apparently. Did you have something else, Ms. Dasgupta?
No, Chairman, I just said thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. We will see you next time.
Good night. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, everyone.